Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Happy Zombie Jesus Day. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. So this is a review I've been wanting to do for a couple months, and basically Colin and I were trying to sync up. Our schedules just weren't matching up, and so I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this because I've been wanting to talk about my favorite films of 2019 for a while. I am very grateful that I was able to see all of the best picture nominees this year. That's the sixth year I've been able to say that. I've been really trying to get good at seeing everything I humanly possibly can, and did a pretty good job this year, as you guys know from the amount of reviews and just the different types. There's so much film last year that I was moved by, that I was inspired by, that really just made me go, God, I love doing this. I just love recording, and I love talking about film. And this year, as it is every year, it's always easier to do the worst of than to do the best of, because the cream of the crop, the stuff that is excellent, the stuff that moves you, the stuff that just makes you go, this is why I love going to the theater. And with this whole coronavirus thing, I do truly believe that the light at the end of the tunnel is a lot closer than a lot of people think. But it's made me miss going out to the movies so much, so it was actually almost therapeutic to go ahead and retool my list for what I thought the best films were. So before I get into what the best films were, gotta talk about my honorable mentions. There were several films that I just couldn't find a spot for, and it sucks because I want to be able to go ahead and always have everything on the list, but there's just some movies I couldn't find a spot for. Joker. I think Joker is this year's or last year's Bohemian Rhapsody. And I mean that in the sense of the main performance is so excellent, it lifts up what I think otherwise is just a good film. The scene with Joker on the Arthur Murray's show, I think that's one of the most tense scenes of the year. The scene initially with him where he does kill those guys on the subway train, and then shoots out one guy when he gets off. I think that scene's excellent. The scene in the apartment where the guy kind of calls him out for being weird, it's so well done. And while I stand by the conspiracy theory that I think that Todd Phillips didn't direct as much of that film as people think, also I just think Todd Phillips was a dick the way he was during the whole press junket for all this. Joaquin's performance is amazing, and I understand why people love this film so much. It's one of those films that if people go, it's one of my favorite comic book films ever, good for you. I'm really happy you were able to take that away from the film. Personally, I think the last 20 minutes betrays the film, and it becomes very much what it said it wasn't going to be. And if you've seen the movie, you know how it ends. I'm not going to spoil it here, but that just irked me in a way. I went, I really fucking hate that. So that's why it's not on my list. Shazam, a film that really should have made a lot more money than it did. It really sucks that it didn't clean up. I blame that on DC for not marketing the film correctly and not advertising it. I think Zachary Levi, if you guys have listened to the podcast for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of the show Chuck. I thought Zachary Levi was the best thing about that Heroes reboot. I think he's an excellent actor who does not get nearly the amount of credit he deserves, but now he's playing a superhero. And this film, again, it's one of those movies I've let people borrow because I have it in 4K. I'm a huge fan of the film, and I think this is going to be one of those films that does get cult status, and I'm happy that we got a release date for Shazam 2, because I was really worried DC wasn't going to greenlight that, but we've got Shazam 2 on the way. I just think it's a great movie, and I think more people need to see it. So if you have not seen Shazam, you really need to. I'm going to throw out two more quick ones here. Little Women, Greta Gerwig, who I think she's going to be a huge player in Hollywood for years to come. I just love her style. I thought Lady Bird was fucking excellent. She's incredible, and she's really gonna just... I'm really just curious to see what she's gonna do next. I think she is just such a great breath of fresh air. So I'm really excited to see what she does next. Couldn't find a spot for it on my list, but it's a movie everyone should seek out. It's way better than the last adaptation of Little Women they did. So that was another honorable mention. And then the last one I will go ahead and throw out, John Wick 3. Fucking love John Wick 3. I think that movie is excellent. Keanu Reeves continues to be just an amazing action star. This John Wick franchise has given Keanu new life, and I'm so excited we're getting one more John Wick, because hell yeah. And Bill and Ted this year. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed. But I love Keanu. Just seems like the nicest dude, and I'm so excited for the next chapter in John Wick. And I lied. I'm throwing out one more. Captain Marvel. I know there are Brie Larson haters. I don't care. I think you're wrong. I think Captain Marvel is excellent. I think it captured the 90s vibe perfectly. I love the soundtrack. I love Carol Danvers' hero's journey that she goes on. I love Samuel L. Jackson as a young Nick Fury. It feels like a different character, even though it's a character he's played, for the past decade. Love Ben Mendelsohn. Love her friend Tasha. Is the actress. I can't think of her name. She's gonna be in the new Bond film, but she's excellent. I'm so excited for Captain Marvel 2. I really am, but I just could not find a spot for it on my list. So, all right, kids. So those are my honorable mentions. So on to number 10. If you guys know how this works, if you haven't listened to the podcast, basically any film that came out in limited release from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st is fair game. And yeah, my list, I'm just going to go through 10 through 6, recap, then go through my 5 through 2, and then do my number 1. So, starting at number 10, I actually have this at a tie because I didn't know which one I liked more, but I'm gonna trust my gut because it's the one I kind of was leaning towards. I gotta give my number 10 spot to Us. I thought Us was an incredible film by Jordan Peele. No, it's not Get Out, and I think a lot of people were expecting another Get Out. I think you get something that's very Get Out inspired, but it's its own entity. I think for as much as people were talking about, I'm blanking on the actress's name, but she played a Harriet Tubman. For Best Actress, I was really pissed that Lupita didn't get an Oscar nomination. She played dual roles in this movie, and she haunted me. She made me sympathetic for her. She made me root for her. I think Lupita Nyong'o is just... she's a generational talent, and she continues to up her game, and I love her to pieces. Winston Duke, Black Twitter and the internet talked about those thunder thighs. Yeah, I love Winston Duke. I think he's great, and the kids in that movie were so creepy as well, playing the red version of themselves. Jordan Peele is special, and I'm really happy that he's really getting his shine and getting a chance to just be creative. Blumhouse continues to be one of the most effective, efficient studios in all Hollywood, making these incredible horror films that for next to nothing. It's amazing to me how they're able to keep doing it. I just have so much respect for Jason Blum and everyone who works over at Blumhouse, and this was my number 10. I thought this movie was excellent. Number 9, I'm a huge fan of Logan. I have not reviewed this for. We have not reviewed it for the channel yet, and I need to because Logan is fucking excellent. James Mangold, I think, is a very underrated director, and his film Ford v Ferrari. I believe it won. I want to say it won the Oscar for. I want to say for like sound editing. I want to say. I think it won one Oscar, but I think this is a movie that's very overlooked. Pardon me. It's a bummer. It's a bummer it came out this year when so many amazing things came out. If it actually came out in 2020, it actually would have probably benefited the movie more. I love Christian Bale in this. This is the second year in a row. I think he should have won the Oscar. I thought he should have beaten. I thought he should have won last year for Vice. I thought he was incredible, and I loved him in Ford v Ferrari. I think he is just the way he's such a chameleon in whatever role he takes. I was so impressed with his performance here. The one guy who works for, I want to say it's Ford. Yeah, he works for Ford. If you've seen the movie, you know who I'm talking about. This one villain, he's just such a fucking prick, and you hate him so bad. And him and Christian Bale's back and forth is excellent. I gotta give Matt Damon a lot of credit too, because I think while people are talking about Christian Bale, and they should be, Matt Damon is one of those actors that ever since The Talented Mr. Ripley, I remember going, okay, I think this guy's got something. And he really has been more consistent than I think people give him credit for. Downsizing, which I think sucks, but that movie aside, he's really been one of my favorite actors for since I was a kid, really. And I just give him so much credit for continuing to hone his craft and just tap into whatever that little bit extra is to continue to turn out these Oscar caliber performances. And the friendship, or almost a frenemy friendship that they have in the movie, Matt Damon and Christian Bale, I think is just excellent. And I don't think enough people are talking about him either, but John Bernthal is excellent in this. It's such a good movie, and it's something, like I said, that I think more people need to be talking about because it is excellent. So that's my number 9. My number 8 film, it's almost hard to put it this low because I thought Tom Hanks was going to win Best Supporting Actor for the performance. If you guys have listened to it, and we have not done a review on this, and I need to. Oh my gosh, the documentary "Won't You Be My Neighbor"? I thought that. Pardon me. Let me take a sip of my beer here real quick. That's better. But I was a huge fan of "Won't You Be My Neighbor," and I was really sad that it didn't win Best Documentary, and I really thought that movie just went overlooked somehow. Just being really upset about it. So, seeing them do such a great job with A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Tom Hanks is a icon. Tom Hanks is one of the greatest actors in the history of Hollywood. I have so much respect for Tom Hanks. I think he is just, I truly believe he's a modern day Marvel. If you have not seen The Post, I'm a huge fan of that film. I'm also a huge fan of Marielle Heller, who's the director. And I gotta be honest, guys, this is the second year in a row she should have gotten an Oscar nomination because for Best Director. Because Can You Ever Forgive Me? She was excellent in that, and I think that people almost took her for granted because she's directing Tom Hanks, and I think that's completely fucking unfair. Because doing a Mr. Rogers film so quickly after that documentary came out could have easily been such a huge detriment to this movie, and yet she directs this film in such a artistic way, the way they're able to use the land of make-believe as inspiration for, planes taking off and trains being used. It's so well done. It's like a living, breathing storybook, and I just have so much admiration for how she directed it. Chris Cooper is excellent in the movie. I'm gonna butcher her name. I'm so sorry, but Susan Kalecki Watson, who played Lloyd Vogel's wife, and of course Lloyd Vogel was played by Matthew Reyes, who, if you have not seen The Americans, watch The Americans. It's fucking excellent. And Chris Cooper was great. Like, this, everyone in this movie stepped up and brought their A game, and I was so happy they did right by Mr. Rogers. So I'm so happy the movie did as well as it did. I'm so happy people connected with it. Yeah, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. That is my number 8. My number 7 is a movie I have ranted and raved about how much I love. It has some of my favorite scenes probably in the history of the film. I don't know if I've ever cheered more, cried more, rooted more. It's Avengers Endgame. I didn't have last year's Avengers Infinity War on my best of for 2018 because, as I said when we did our best of 2018 list, I didn't feel like the story was complete, and I didn't think it was fair to put what's basically a half-finished part of a two-parter on my best of list. I didn't think that was fair. I have watched Endgame start to finish at least 15 times since it's come out. I love that fucking movie. When Captain America picks up Mjolnir, that alone, I screamed. Alea would tell you I screamed, I cheered. Hearing Cap say Avengers Assemble, the sacrifice of, you know who, just in case you haven't seen it, which if you haven't, why haven't you? The Avengers Assemble line, Ant-Man getting a chance to shine. Just so much about that movie to love. And even though there wasn't an end credit scene, I thought that tribute that they did to everyone who'd basically been in the Marvel films was excellent. It's one of my favorite things to go back and watch. And Alan Silvestri, I want to say Alan Silvestri's score is just excellent. It's incredible, pun intended, marvel of a film. I have so much respect pardon me, for the Russo brothers. I think they are incredible. I enjoyed 21 Bridges, which they were producers on. Yeah, I love Avengers Endgame. I'm an unapologetic fan of it. So, Avengers Endgame, pardon me, that's my number 7. My number 6 is a movie that I thought was going to get more love at the Oscars. It didn't, which, again, I think it's a victim of its own circumstance for when it came out. I think the movie is excellent. Pardon me. I think it's a drag that didn't get more recognition, but I still am just blown away by it. It led to, I think, the best year for Scarlett Johansson. My number 6 is Marriage Story. I thought this film, I really thought Adam Driver was going to win the Oscar. I really thought he was going to win it. I know everyone's talking Joaquin. I know I talked about Christian Bale earlier. My order basically went it went Adam Driver, Bale, then Joaquin. And I was flopping back and forth between switching Bale and Adam Driver because I was changing my mind basically every day. But pardon me. But I think Adam Driver's just shown, like, we look at the last Star Wars trilogy here, or the newest Star Wars trilogy. Kylo Ren, as badly as that character is written, Adam Driver is such an incredible actor. He's still able to make you connect with that character. It's really amazing because they did not set him up for success with that character. But the scene that Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson have in this movie when they're fighting with each other is such an intense, emotional roller coaster of a scene, and it's only the way you could talk to someone that you love. And I love that scene alone. It's incredibly well done. And I love that scene alone, let alone this whole movie. Again, was really sad Scarlett Johansson didn't get some love at the Oscars because I thought she deserved it, but I thought she was excellent as well. Yeah, this movie's incredible. So if you have not seen Marriage Story, it's definitely not something you want to watch after you celebrate an anniversary, but it's such a fun, it's such a genuinely well-directed, well-written movie that I think everyone needs to see. So that's my number 6, Marriage Story. So going down the list real quick, my number 10 was Us. Number 9, Ford v Ferrari. Number 8, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Number 7, Avengers Endgame. Number 6, Marriage Story. All right, so kids, let me take another quick sip of the beer here. Thank you. All right, my number 5. So this might have my, it's easily my top 3 favorite end credit scenes. I think Tom Holland is just, I can't express enough how much I love Tom Holland. And I was not crazy about Tom Holland when he got cast. I really wanted Asa Butterfield. Thankfully, he got Sex Education, which is a great show if you haven't watched it. But Tom Holland has been one of my favorite portrayals of a superhero ever. I think he's the quintessential Peter Parker. I think he's the quintessential Spider-Man. I don't want to hear about Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man. You will not change my mind on this. I think Tom Holland is excellent. I think Marissa Tomei is Aunt May is just incredible. I love their chemistry, and it's such a genuine warmth when they're talking to each other, which is how I always read Peter Parker and Aunt May in the comics. I love the way that they use Jon Favreau's Happy Hogan in this, and Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. It might be the best role of his career. I know a lot of people might say Nightcrawler, and I think he's incredible in Nightcrawler. We've reviewed that. If you have not listened to it, you should check it out. But Jake Gyllenhaal's incredible as Mysterio. You, even knowing the history of the character like I do, I was sitting there watching the movie going, well, maybe he's not bad. Maybe this will all work out. And no, Mysterio's an asshole, but it's everything you want in a Spider-Man movie. It's got humor, it's got charm, it's got stakes. It has the shadow. And I know some people made this argument that, you know, it relies too much on spoiler alert for Endgame. Yeah, spoiler, sorry. But I've heard people say that it relies too much on Tony Stark. No one knew Tony Stark in that science nerdy hero way like Peter did. Like, he just knew him in more on a different level, even more so than honestly Pepper, even though they were married. He got him in a different way because he was a hero. And I love the way that's like a cloud hanging over Peter all the time, and how Happy kind of has to sit him down and go, look, even Tony, you know, couldn't outdo himself. He didn't, like, he was always questioning himself. I love the way this movie is laid out. I love the very logical way of them going all the way back to Iron Man 1 to bring someone back who has a vendetta against Tony. It's like, wow, you guys really thought this shit out. It's just an it's an incredible film. And the Peter Tingle, as it were, but his big Spider-Man Spider-Sense scene blowout is so well done. There's a reference to Iron Man Marvel Zombies, which I just thought, oh my god, you're digging deep for these Easter eggs. And it's got, like I said, it's got easily my top 3 favorite end credit scenes or mid credit scenes for a Marvel film. The Daily Bugle reveal, basically in the InfoWars font, I thought was just, yeah, if there's any version of the Daily Bugle in the real world, it would probably be very InfoWars-ish. And pardon me, and I love that J.K. Simmons came back as J. Jonah Jameson. I'm so happy that this is the status quo moving forward, and that we're getting a third Spider-Man. I'm giddy as hell. So, Spider-Man: Far From Home, that's my number 4. My number 5, pardon me. My number 4 is a movie that I really think more people need to go out and watch. It is on Hulu, so you have no excuse to not watch it. If you don't have Hulu, get a 30-day trial. You should. It's great. My number 4 film is Booksmart. Booksmart is an excellent film directed by Olivia Wilde. Her first movie, might I add. Um, Olivia Wilde, she's one of those people that she comes across very witty in a lot of her films and a lot of her interviews. She seems very ambitious. I hate the movie The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, but for some reason she is one of the few things I really like. I really like in it. I thought she was great in Richard Jewell, and I loved her on BoJack. I think she in Vinyl. I really love that show, and I was bummed when it got canceled. So I'm actually quite a fan of Olivia Wilde, and the fact that this is her first film, directing Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein. Feldstein, I'm gonna go with. Caitlin Dever, by the way, she should be Barbara Gordon. If I'm DC, I cast her immediately. If they don't want to get if they don't want to get Anna Kendrick for Squirrel Girl, Marvel cast her. She's great. I haven't watched that show Unbelievable yet. That's on my list. I definitely want to watch that. I think she's awesome, and I'm really happy that this movie exists for as a coming of age comedy, more of a coming of age dramedy. But you know, how many movies can you say that have so many women working, behind the camera, in front of the camera, that are this excellent? How many coming of age movies are this great? Period. I mean, I think about this and maybe The Spectacular Now. I'd put this up there with Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's one of my favorite movies ever. And I think this movie's right there with it. I thought Booksmart was excellent. The fight that the best friends have in this movie, it is one of those fights that you could only have with someone that you love. And the way they rip into each other, and the way that Olivia Wilde shoots that scene, how the camera's kind of panning to everyone filming them, and how it feels like their world is falling into chaos just in that the way the camera's being used. It just I love I love this movie. So yeah, if you have Hulu, you need to watch this. Add it to your list now. Booksmart, my number 4. On my number 3, a movie that I was hyped for when I saw the trailer for it, and I went, I don't know if it's going to be as good as I'm playing it up to be in my head. I was really worried that it was going to let me down, and it didn't. My number 3 is Jojo Rabbit. I think Taika Waititi is one of the most brilliant minds in Hollywood. He clearly just doesn't give a fuck. Watching Thor Ragnarok, it just felt like he took a bunch of shrooms and went, now I'm going to write a Thor movie, and it worked out way better than I thought it would. It was damn sure better than Thor: The Dark World, and Taika's been awesome for a minute, and I'm happy that people are kind of starting to discover his stuff. Taika is just a very creative mind, and I really think that he'll be one of those people 20 years from now that people will be citing as an inspiration. I think he is just incredible. People don't talk enough about What We Do in the Shadows. He wrote that, and it's fucking great. The show's excellent as well. So give Taika some more credit. He makes a great Hitler, which is weird to say, but I don't think I ever thought I'd say this in a movie, but I could have used more Hitler. I actually wanted more Hitler screen time, but the kid who plays Jojo, Roman Griffin Davis, I thought he was just wonderful, and I can't wait to see what this kid does next. I hope he moves on and just ends up being a huge star. That's his first movie role. Like he knocked it out of the park. He was great. Sam Rockwell is amazing in this. Sam Rockwell is one of my favorite actors. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know how much I love Moon, and he's excellent in Moon. Should have won the Oscar that year for Best Actor, but I won't get off on that tirade. But Sam Rockwell's great in the movie. Even Rebel Wilson, as irritating as I normally find her, even she wasn't enough to deter me from enjoying this film. And Scarlett Johansson, this might be her best role since Lost in Translation. I thought she was just excellent in a way, and loving and caring, and just enough self-deprecating humor. But she didn't treat Jojo like he was a little kid. She gave him some rope. She gave him some room to explore his space and talk to him, not like an adult, but didn't condescend him. Definitely put things in perspective for him in a way that I was just in awe of. Watching her parenting, I just thought this movie was excellent. The score is great. Stephen Merchant has a cameo in this, and he's great in his role. What's the kid? Yorkie, who's played by Archie Yates. He's starring in the Home Alone reboot that they're doing for Disney Plus. I thought he was great, and I thought the girl, Thomasin McKenzie as Elsa, pardon me, her and Jojo had excellent chemistry, and I thought it was very sweet where the movie ends up. But it never lets you forget what you're watching, what time period you're watching in. I love this movie, so that's my number 3. My number 2 favorite film is a film that has jumped with my number 1 quite a few times. I was actually retweeting my list, pardon me, as of last night. I was like, oh, do I want this number 1 or do I want this number 2? And while I am happy, actually, if I say that, that'll give away my number 1. Never mind. But I love Sam Mendes. I think that Skyfall is probably my 3rd favorite Bond film. GoldenEye and Casino Royale, in that order, by the way, ahead of it. But Sam Mendes did a great job with 1917. It took 2 actors I didn't even know really who they were. I hadn't seen them anything I could recall, and you just see their friendship evolving through this war, and the way that Sam Mendes is able to, I mean, admittedly through some clever editing, how it's all shot like it's one shot. It makes you feel like you're there. It's one of the most intense theater experiences I've ever had. It's incredible how Sam Mendes was able to make this look, and the cinematography is top notch. The score, there's not an overabundance of it, but when it kicks on, it feels powerful. Mark Strong and Benedict Cumberbatch, you hear that they're in it, you think, oh my god, they're going to be, they might overshadow the movie. No, they don't. It's incredibly well done piece of art. If I was teaching a film class, that would be one of the first things I would show. I just think the movie is excellent. Richard Madden, you get a scene with him, and he just shows why he's one of my favorite kind of rising stars. I can never remember the guy's name. The guy who played Moriarty in Sherlock, but he's in here, and I was just like, oh, that's great. I just love this movie. I love this movie so much, and I hope it did well. I mean, it won some Oscars, which I'm happy about, but I'm so happy that this film did so well. I think people need to look at this for film inspiration, just for how great it is. Yeah, this film is incredible, and if you have not seen it, I wouldn't even say rent this. This is something I'd be proud to own, and I think more people need to look into it if you have not. There were a couple, I said this in our review, there are a couple Vietnam vets who watched it, and they were like, it clearly hit them. It was intense even for them. It was just, yeah, it's a very, very intense movie. So just know that when you're getting into it. I liked it better than Saving Private Ryan, personally, but that's another discussion for another day. So going down my list, I'm going to start at number 10, go all the way down. So number 10, I had Us. Number 9, I had Ford v Ferrari. Number 8, I had A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Number 7, I had Avengers Endgame. Number 6, I had Marriage Story. Number 5, I had Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 4, I had Booksmart. Number 3, I had Jojo Rabbit. Number 2, I had 1917. And my number 1 favorite film for 2019 is, drumroll please, go ahead and do it at home. I'm doing a drum roll here. I'm just not hitting my keyboard. My number one favorite film of 2019 is Parasite. I do not think that I can undersell how much when I heard about Parasite, I went, oh, Bong Joon-ho, I love him. Snowpiercer alone. If you guys have listened to the podcast for a while, I've mentioned The Host once or twice. I really enjoyed The Host. It's a great freaking movie. But Snowpiercer, oh my god! And this is something we did not review. We didn't review Okja, I think is the way I say it. It's a great movie too. Bong Joon-ho, he's such a creative mind, and he clearly just has very random, intense thoughts. I love the way his mind works, because you can just feel the gears cranking as you're watching one of his films. Parasite, the fact this film builds the way it does, and it builds the tension with this family, and if you haven't seen it, I'm dancing around it for a reason, because I don't want to get too much in the spoilers, but it has one of my favorite third acts in a film I've seen in a couple years. It's intense. The art direction is beautiful. The way this one house is shot, and when you see the house, you'll get it. But the contrast, it did what Elysium wasn't able to do. It talks about class structure, and it talks about how the rich have more power than the poor do, but also, if you were to get that power, would you be corrupted? And do we stereotype all people who happen to be rich? Like, it asks a lot of questions to you, the audience, and it doesn't really even ask you to answer them. It really does just ask you, though, like, you need to be aware of this. And it does it in a way that never felt preachy to me, which is always a really difficult line to walk. But Bong Joon-ho did such an incredible job. This movie does something else that I know I just mentioned Casino Royale a couple minutes ago. It does something that I appreciate so much in film. It didn't glamorize violence. All the violence in this movie feels intense. It feels brutal. It feels raw. It feels animalistic, honestly. And the way this film ends, I just thought was just the cherry on top of the mwah sundae. I can't wait for what Bong Joon-ho does next, and I was so best foreign film. I was like, oh, he's got best foreign film. Like, good for him. I'm happy, he'll get at least one Oscar. But Parasite cleaning up the way it did, including him winning best director and best in the movie winning best picture. I was so happy for him. I think he's been grinding and just trying so hard to continue to hone his craft. He shout out Scorsese, and Sam Mendes and all these directors that have inspired him. And he's just such a weird dude, but he's weirdly charming. And I was so happy for this film to have the success it did. It really takes away that stigma that I think a lot of people have, that, a foreign film can't be considered one of the greats. I think this film does owe a lot to Roma for kind of helping change that narrative a little bit. But Bong Joon-ho, though, man, I'm still proud of him. I bought Parasite the moment I could. I think this film is just a masterclass in filmmaking, and if you just want to see how to build tension in a film to a Hitchcockian extent, watch Parasite. It's so well done, and everyone should watch it. So, guys, that is my top 10 of 2019. It's going to be very interesting to do the list this year, considering how much stuff we're getting at the end of the year. But, guys, what were your favorite films of 2019? What were some movies that disappointed you? That would be interesting to hear, because I'd love to know what people just loved last year. Let me know what stuff you loved last year in the comments below. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. Go ahead and shoot me a message. I'll go and respond. Yeah, I love talking to you guys. But like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman the First. You can follow Colin on Twitter at The Real O'Neill. That's REELONEAL. And go ahead and follow us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We will have reviews up this weekend for Onward, as well as a review for Bruise Brothers Season 1. Pardon me. And we'll have a review for... I think that's it. Actually, I'll probably find something else to review. We've all got a little time, right? But guys, I hope you're having a happy Easter. Please stay safe out there. Take care of one another when you can. Thank you again so much for the support. Have a good night, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.